Woo! If you look distinctly into the horizon, you can see the Philadelphia Eagles running another rushing touchdown. It's a damn shame what happened to the Commanders yesterday. Just like those security guards. Yes,
Storm like the
you are
Capitol.
now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. And those sounds are brought to you by the one and only, world renowned, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem. He's been known to have a good brew or two. And if you know anything about brew, you know that Hoboken, New Jersey had the first brewery in America that wasn't English. The year on that was 1642. He is Mr. Logical. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And I am your unorthodox statistician. Hurting so much on the inside, but I'm wearing this gear anyway. Going left so much you thought I was southpaw. I go by the name of 25. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. So, Mr. Logical, we were talking earlier, and a couple of weeks ago, I made the comment of Philadelphia is the team that I have the most confidence in that will make the Super Bowl, to my own detriment, not a homer. And, you know, we talked about this, and then you were on Kansas City and Detroit.
Correct.
So now that we ended up here, now I ain't going to ask you if it was a waste of time, but was the playoffs really like intense, or was, you know, like what do you think of it?
I made the comment because the college football playoffs, it was a lot of, for lack of a better word, controversy on who got in, who didn't. A lot of SEC schools were kind of being championed by a lot of voices in sports media. Even one coach, Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, kept chiming in about who should be and who shouldn't. Then we had the early round blowouts. And then it kind of tailed off. And then Ohio State just kind of showed in a couple of games that they played, like, oh, these guys are head and shoulders above the rest of the other 11 teams that made the playoffs. And that, so after the first week, after, the 14 teams playoff, because I've never been a fan of the 14 teams in NFL anyway. I feel like 12 was plenty. 10 might even be enough, realistically.
Okay.
So a 7 seed has never been a 2 seed except Green Bay when they beat Dallas. I think that's the only time in this 14 team playoff. For the most part, the 2 seed beats the 7 seed. And it just felt not a formality, but it just felt like we had 4, maybe even 6 extra teams in this tournament. The games were good, but it just feels like we could have trimmed the fat in a couple of spots. I don't know how you do that. Personally, I think 14 is too many. They're never going to go back because they're trying to get 18 games. I think 14 is too many. The likelihood of a 7 running the table.
So if they go 18,
more likely than the 6. They're still going to go 7. They're still going to go 14.
So if they go 18, does that open it up for 16 and we go back to the top 2 get buys?
No, because if you go 18, you're already adding a week onto the season. I believe the players who have spoken out about it, like I heard Joe Burrow say it on, I believe, Pat McAfee podcast or maybe Barstool, and another player said on a different podcast that I was listening to, like if they're trying to give us 18 games, then we're going to need 2 bye weeks. Mm-hmm. So unless you start Labor Day weekend, like you start that Sunday, which most people are still kind of getting that last summer vacation.
And college football already has Labor Day.
Football is kicking off. Kids are going back to school. They want that Thursday night kickoff. So depends on when Labor Day hits in September. You might not get your first NFL game until about, it could be like the 8th or 9th of the month. Right. So now you're looking at a President's Day Super Bowl. That's late. That's the 3rd week of February. So I don't think they'd add another playoff team. I think if you go 18 games, you go back to 12 playoff teams. Like
I
you
doubt it.
just in my
Just
like
off of the revenue. Yeah. Just
because
off of revenue, they're not going to do
the
that.
money. You're getting the money off. You're getting the money off of 32 teams playing an 18th game, which is probably the same amount of money you're getting from these 2-7 matchups that basically are just fodder for entertainment for the 2 seed's best player to get his ankle rolled up on against a team that has no real shot at winning it all. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
even the 6 seed, I believe Green Bay went on the road, they won their Super Bowl, and I believe the Giants were a
The Giants did it
6 seed.
twice.
But I don't recall recent history 6 seeds really running the table. I think no, because Arizona was a 4 seed. They were 9-7, but they won their division.
Mm-hmm.
So they made the run the year that they played the Steelers. But it just,
Well,
like I said, it felt like too many teams, and it felt like I don't say I wasted a couple of weeks waiting on the big marquee matchups, but definitely at least one full extra week was like we didn't need it.
well, see, the college football playoff though they pulled the wool over our eyes because we ended up with a 7 and an 8 seed in the national title game. So you look at that and you go, "Wow!" Like, look at this parity that really worked out. But when you go back and look at it, Oregon was, Ohio State was favored over Oregon. So you can't really call that an upset outside of the seed. You go look at Notre Dame, and I think that most people surmised that Notre Dame was better than Arizona State, better than Boise State, maybe even better than Georgia in some ways. And by the time they ended up playing with Carson Beck's injury, Notre Dame was the favorite anyway. So when you look at the NFL playoffs, on the other hand, the only real upset, well, two upsets that we had was Washington over Detroit, and we had the Rams over Minnesota in the first round. Whereas, like, obviously, I wasn't surprised by that, like, because I picked the Rams to win that. But if you're looking at seeds in the AFC, I guess you could say that the Chargers upset the Texans, but they were the favorite in that game. So I guess it just kind of went chalk for the most part. Like, Washington was the only team in the Final Four yesterday that you thought probably didn't belong. Like, where did they come from? Like, who had Washington here? You imagine Buffalo and Kansas City. That's normal. Philadelphia, to me, was the best team in the league all year. That includes Kansas City. But I get what you mean by formality. So when I peel it back, prior to these games yesterday, Buffalo and Baltimore was probably the one matchup that pre-championship game was like, this is must-see TV. We got to be here for this.
And that's the thing. That should have been my first round matchup. Like I should not have to deal with there's no slight to these teams. Houston won their division, so they should get their shot.
Right.
But
and they won.
The fact that
Cincinnati
had an opportunity to be in the playoffs at 9-8 with some help. Miami with the year that they had. Like, what if you had to pick 14 teams, you probably would have picked Cincinnati over Miami.
Right.
But neither one of them really deserved an opportunity to be in the championship.
Well, I guess you would give Miami. Some people might give Miami a pass, the college football style pass, because Tua missed so many games.
Yeah, but he still had 8 losses. So
you give them, but I think that you give both of those teams. But I think you give both of those teams a fighting chance in a singular game.
So why should I have to give you a fighting chance to win our ultimate prize when you couldn't win in October and November?
100%. And that's
why should you get a real shot at competing for the ultimate prize when you're 9-8? You win your division, at least that is a title of sorts. You are a titleist, you are a champion, you get to compete in this tournament. But it shouldn't be 3 or 4 extra teams that barely skated in. I think it just diluted the entire process, and they should go back to 12. 1 and 2 get it, because like There's no reason for Philly to have to put their players out there against Green Bay. You win 14. Was it what they went 14 and
14 and
3?
3. Yeah.
You win 14 games. Now you gotta go up against a team that won 10 or 11. I get it. Or even in the AFC, who was a 2 seed?
It
Uh
was Buffalo.
Buffalo playing against Denver. It's like why am I just give me the 18th game, get your money, and then give me 12 teams in the playoffs. Because 14 didn't deserve a shot. 16 damn sure didn't, but like 16 teams damn near were alive. Atlanta was alive to win the division, or potentially like it's just like enough is enough. Just get the extra 18th game, give them 2 bye weeks, guarantee bigger portions of their contract, 65 to 70% guarantee their contract. Make sure everybody gets their money because you're exploiting them for the money. Make sure they get their cut. And don't give me this watered down playoff run. I just felt it
Right.
was unnecessary. I just felt like Buffalo having to play Denver was unnecessary. They should not lose a player just because you want to sell tickets to this random game where that team realistically does not have a shot at winning the ultimate prize, considering the number one seed in the AFC had 2 losses and one of them because they sat everybody.
Right. And so when I go back and look at it, like I said, just to compare it to the college football, obviously the NFL uses standings to select their
Yeah.
playoff, whereas college football uses, dare I say, opinion. But I can say that the college football, the argument is always deserved versus best. Best is subjective, most deserved is result of what happens on the field. So when you look at the NFL, I think people would have rathered that college policy because, to your point, they wanted Cincinnati. And a lot of people were talking about, well, Kansas City sat their starters so they didn't have to play Cincinnati. No, Kansas City sat their starters because if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt in Mile High and lost for the
Again,
season,
so
then
that
what?
that to me is that 2-7 matchup is that week 18 game where you rest your starters. Because now look at it. If
What up, Mike?
Josh Allen goes out and plays this formality of a game against Denver, they went what 14 and 3 themselves, 13 and 4, something like that. They had wins over Kansas City. They had the MVP, one of the MVP front runners. Same thing with Baltimore. It's like one of us, along with Kansas City, deserved a bye week. As if I'm a 2 or 3 seed in either conference and I'm 13, 14 wins, I should have been playing for a bye week. As a number 2 seed, when Kansas City locked up their number 1 seed, as a 2 seed behind a team that won 15 games, I should still get an opportunity to earn a bye with 14 wins. I shouldn't be playing this extra game, and now I got extra hits on my quarterback. When I want to
And
rest my
Buffalo
guys.
was the first team to clinch their division.
They clinched their division. They had the MVP front runner. I mean, they had the guy probably would have been coach of the year. We know we go back and forth with that, but it's like same thing with Philly. It's like that's why I was like resting Saquon against the Giants made the most sense because the ultimate prize is the Super Bowl. But they got to go out and they got to play that game against Green Bay. Saquon tweaks an ankle because you want these Texas teams in the playoffs. Yeah, Minnesota were an anomaly. They had 14 wins and they were a 6 or 7 seed, fifth or sixth, seventh seed, something like that.
They
Wild
were
card.
the fifth. Yeah, they were fifth
That's
seed.
rare. 3 teams in one conference having double. That's rare. For the most part, these wild card teams are 10-7, 9-8. They sneak in, they backdoor their way in, and now they're just playing this extra game where, like, how many extra hits does Josh Allen take before he played last night against Kansas City? Especially if I got 1 versus 2, and that's gonna be my 1 versus 2 is my expectation for my championship matchup. I want that to be as even as possible. But if I got 2 playing a whole extra 60 minutes they got teams traveling in and
But
stuff
see,
like
I kind
that.
of like it.
I just don't like
I
it.
kind of like the one seed having a certain advantage though, because you are the one seed. Like we talked about Oregon and Ohio State, where Ohio State got to play Tennessee at home in front of their fans in their stadium, but Oregon is the best team in the country that didn't lose a game in the regular season, the only team that didn't lose a game in the regular season. And they had to play Ohio State at the Rose Bowl. And I'm not trying to get into the argument of, because if you're a better team, you just should win. So I'm not trying to even get into that. I'm just talking about format right now. So if I am Kansas City or if I am Detroit, like I want an advantage because I'm the best team.
Before teams got by. So 4 teams played one less game, less hits on their quarterback, less hits on their running back, less opportunity for their star players to get hurt. The NFL, you give 2 teams that opportunity. And it feels like the money grab can be better served. Like I said, just play the 18th game and guarantee contracts at a percentage rate. Like,
And
hey,
see, that's the problem. The
you
NFL
gotta.
doesn't care about player safety, and neither does fans.
But to me, as a fan, I just watching these playoffs run. I was like, I know the NFL doesn't care about player safety. I know they don't. The same way the military talked about alcohol use, but yet the class 6 is always stocked. I remember one time in Germany, it was a heat wave. They didn't have any fans at the BX, but the Dom Perignon was on deck. Oh, like you can get as drunk as you want, but you can't cool yourself off. So I know they serve alcohol. They have alcohol at every function. Yeah, they'll help you out if you start drinking, but it is not their priority to make sure you don't get access to alcohol. So I
Right.
know for a fact it's on me as an individual to make sure that I manage whatever alcohol intake I get. The NFL is like, you don't give me an opportunity to rest guys because I got to get the number 1 seed in order to rest guys at the end of the year. I just think it's a better opportunity for a better game if you get rid of 13 and 14, you go back to 12. You'll get all the attention. Like I said, just add the 18th game. Add that game and you'll get your throwaway week, but you'll still get your billion and a half, $2 billion that the owners get to split, with the additional game that week. Because as we're looking at it, the way some of these teams hired coaches, they probably won't see the playoffs for a long time. So at least those owners, those other at that point 20 owners, would get to break some kind of extra bread, and then we get a real playoff with real opportunity because 9-8 wild card team that didn't win their division, the likelihood of them going on this miraculous run from January to second week of February, highly unlikely. But the likelihood of somebody getting a late hit on your star quarterback of the number 2 overall team in NFC, or the star running back or the star wide receiver tearing something because you're making them play an extra game, that's more likely than a
So the one thing that
7
I would like about the Super Bowl being pushed back is it'll give us that 3-day weekend. But but even
I
that is
think
not
it
worth
would
it in
anyway.
the sense
You just know,
of,
like, I think it's the military. You kind of because I work for military organizations still, so it's kind
well,
of like
not all of us do, Mr.
we're late
Logical.
reporting. Yeah, listen,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? But
we
no, but no,
they
if
reported
the
me some things.
but even if the NFL decided to add 2 more teams, like I brought up earlier, like to have 16 to compensate for the 18 game schedule, like, look, people still going to watch it. Nobody's going to boycott it in the name of player safety. So, in the end, as I always say, I blame us. So, the Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Chiefs, three-peat on deck potentially. The Buffalo Bills go into Arrowhead one more time, and they walk in with their heads hung in shame one more time. Mr. Logical, where did it all go wrong?
2017. There's been a trade. Buffalo Bills traded the 10th pick to the Kansas City Chiefs for a third-round pick, their first-round pick, and like I think another like second-round pick or something like that. And they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Like I said, Gino Ariema said it. We got Diana, they don't. Andy Reid can go to the podium and say, I got Patrick, and they don't. I'm not saying the quarterback. You know me, I'm always on like everybody has to play well. And the quarterbacks get the wins, they get the lion's share of the blame, they get the lion's share of the credit. But when it comes down to I need a play after this timeout, or I need a play after this other team scored, or I need a play, or I need a series, I need a drive to run this clock out. So many times, Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Eric Bieniemy, Spags, whoever it is, Kelsey, Mahomes, when they have that little powwow before the referee marks the ball and blows the whistle for the play clock to run, they've had that conversation, and every single time in clutch moments in the playoffs, this guy has delivered the expectation of what you need every single time. Oh, we need to tie this game. You got 13 seconds left at home in the playoffs after this guy just caught an NFL record 4th touchdown pass wide open up the seam. Cool. You got 13 seconds, 3 timeouts. Let's get Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Harrison Buckner, tie game, win the coin toss, go win the game, go into the next round. Oh, you got Lamar, the MVP at home. Cool. First drive, go 8 for 8, touchdown to Kelsey while he's being covered by Kyle Hamilton, who covered tight ends, like the best safety covering tight ends all year long. First drive, we're going right at him. Let's make it happen. Mahomes just makes the clutch plays happen. I think they had like a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 on their side of the 50. They called a timeout. He did his little walk with his hand like this, got the play, and called a simple rollout. He rolled out, got like 7 to 8 yards, slid down, got back up like it was no big deal. He didn't get up and do the first down mark like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. He got back up, came the next play. Then when they were running out the clock, Pacheco gets the pass, gets the first down, tries to slide, gets undercut, ends up out of bounds, clock stops. They don't panic. They run off a couple more plays. Buffalo holds their timeout. They get the ball to P. Ryan, runs up the sideline, ball game. It just happens so often to the point where you can bring in everything else. You can say they get less holding calls, the ref, everything else. You don't do that for 7 years because the refs help you.
Well, see, and that's why I always bring up teams that win championships. We can go dig through the crates and find something that went their way. Whether you're talking about the Chicago Bulls, the Los Angeles Lakers at any point in time, whether you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, New England Patriots, so on and so forth. I always bring up Kobe.
The Julian Edelman catch against Atlanta when 3 people were there and the ball got bobbled, never touched the ground. It's like that happens for teams.
Yeah, just like the Xavier Worthy play. And oh, by the way, Buffalo Bills 2024 NFL draft trade Kansas City so that they can get Xavier Worthy. In the night of the draft, what did I come on here and say? Buffalo just gave them their next Tyreek Hill. And why did I say that? Because if you go look at it, Xavier Worthy was the leading receiver in the game last night. So you shot your own damn self in the foot. And don't forget the catch
over the middle.
And the catch in the second quarter, Ty goes to the offense. He came down to the ground with the ball. Yes, the ball hit the ground, but it can as long as it doesn't move. But those are the type of things that champions do when it comes down to it. Like we can talk about the 4th down. I thought he had the first down. We could talk about that. We could talk about like whatever penalty you might want to bring up. But the point is that the teams that win championships make the plays necessary to win championships. It's the reason why when Buffalo got on the field for their last possession last night and James Cook wasn't on the field on first down, I said, what is this tomfoolery Buffalo's trying to pull right now? Then right before that commercial, 3rd and 10, you got Josh Allen with the rocket pack on his arm. And what do? You throw a wide receiver screen that barely gets 5 yards to set up a 4th and 5 instead of hitting a Kincaid or a Knox in the flat. Get 6 of those, and maybe you got 4th and 4 or shorter. And then when you look at Buffalo, feels like They waited until they needed something to do something. So instead of grabbing the game and saying, you know what?
Perfect. I was thinking that's a perfect description.
Yeah. So
Like
so instead of saying
they
I'm
didn't
gonna
seize the moment because
right,
that's why I picked against them, because in Baltimore, there was times where it's like, go make the play. Like when they got the ball back after half against Baltimore and they were up, was it 21-10?
21-17 maybe or
No,
something like that.
21-10.
Okay.
It was 21-10. I'm like, you're getting the ball back. You just got the pass interference
Put them
call.
out their misery.
Go for it. Like, this is where I'm calling design runs, get Josh Allen on the edge so he can get out of bounds. I don't want any draw plays up the middle where he can take an extra shot. Boom. Let me get 6 here.
What does that sound like to you? Sounds like coaching to me.
Coaching, yeah,
You,
coach.
you
I
know
ain't
what I
want to
mean?
agree with you. We've been doing this show for a long time. I like agreeing with you, but not on this point.
But see, but
I
that's the
like
thing,
Sean
right?
McDermott, but it
No,
does
I'm
seem
Sean
like
McDermott too. But you know,
they get
but that's the
tight for
thing.
no reason.
The play that they called on that 2-point conversion, with all the movement and you had the receiver open in the back of the end zone. You could have did that on 1st and 10 from the 30. Or not that exact play, but I'm just meaning the creativity, like trying to catch Kansas City off
To get
guard.
Samuel,
Because Kansas City
to get
was hip.
Samuel open.
Yeah, because Kansas City was hip to everything Buffalo was doing.
But what did I say Buffalo was going to do? I was like, Kansas City is going to go up 10. They're going to
Yeah.
go up, like, they're going to go up 10 or 11. And then Buffalo's going to do something that puts Kansas City in a position to where they can take the momentum right back. So what they do, they kick the extra point. They're down 21-17.
You know who gives up momentum? Teams that need a new coach.
They take the penalty. Because, like, for me, the 2-point conversions from the 2 off the rip, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the 2-point conversions from the 2. You didn't want to go for 2. You kicked the extra point. Now they give it to you from the 1, and it's like, whoa, this is way different. It isn't. If you're going to go for 2, you should have gone for 2 from the 2. Like, I get that a yard is, like, if you come up a yard short, it is substantial. I'm not trying to make it seem like but it's like, if you got a 2-point conversion play, I imagine that 2-point conversion play is at least a 3-yard gain. Whatever play is, you're trying to get at least 3 yards. So if you wanted to go for 2 and be down 21-18, they should have just gone for 2. But they took points off the board. They went for 2, didn't get it, went for 2 again, because I was watching the game with Rachel and Ava, and she kept saying, because she bet on the money line for Josh Allen. She bet Xavier Worthy getting a touchdown and Josh Allen getting a touchdown. So she thought he was going to get in on the tush push, and that was going to be the game winner, and she was going to win like $500. And I was like, I hope you do win, but kind of not. And she kept saying, she's like, how many times did they go for 2? I'm like, what happens when you chase points? And
Right.
she
And
said when they were up 22-21, she said they would be up 24-20. I'm like, yep, exactly. They would have been up
look at her getting that
24-21
knowledge.
with the you sit next to greatness now. She's very smart. She's very apt. She pays a lot of attention to the
Well,
game.
see, like for me, like the number one takeaway before you get into any of the psychology, because I told you, even though I did pick Buffalo,
Yeah,
I
you're a
told
stats
you.
guy. I'm a mind guy when it
But
comes
what
to
did I tell you though? What did I tell you though? I said when I look at Buffalo and Kansas City, I see Florida State and Miami. That's what I see. What is it? Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. And that's the thing about it, is because, like, for example, you're like, okay, don't put the ball in so much pressure on Josh Allen, because that's where he'll make the mistake trying to do too much, right? So, okay, you're like, okay, let's run the ball 32 times. Awesome. But why the fuck does James Cook only have 13 carries?
See, for me, I'm not concerned about who was carrying the ball.
Oh, I am.
In the second half, they were jumping off 4 and 5 runs. And we'll talk about this with Philly, but like last week when I was talking about Philly versus the Rams, I was like, I think Philly's good with first down, giving the ball to Saquon and being it 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5. And then on second down, calling the quarterback draw, and maybe Jalen only gets 4 yards. But 3rd and 1, they know they could give it right back to Saquon. First down, they were gashing. They were running behind the left guard. They were gashing Kansas City 4 or 5 yards a clip. He was getting on the edge. They had one play. We talked about that in our pre-meeting when we were on the phone. They ran like the little play action. It was like a little play action slide where Josh Allen rolls out. James Cook's right in front of him. He could just dump it off to him, or he could keep it. I think you call that a couple times. Maybe you dump it off because there's nobody in the flat because of the play action. The play action was
Give him something to think about.
Give him something to think about. Josh Allen keeps the ball. James Cook turns up the field. He gets a chip block on McDuffie, and
if things break just right, the third or fourth time that you call that play, Shakir might be streaking. Pause.
Streaking. Kincaid coming across the sideline. I watched that play call for Buffalo. I looked at Ava and I was like, that play will probably work every time because there's a threat with Josh Allen. They should call it more.
You going to say it with me this time?
Kansas City is coaching. Kansas City. Kansas City called it with Mahomes on 4th down. They called it another time. I think they called something like that kind of like that play action, but they rolled Kelsey out to the flat to lead block for Mahomes. They called it with Pacheco kill the clock, and then they called it the other way with P. Ryan to finish the game. So it's like they saw your play that worked, and you did it one time. They did it 4 times to seal certain aspects of the game, get a touchdown and get first downs and keep the clock running. It's like, go with what works. Like I was watching my kids' basketball game.
Sounds like coaching to me.
These guys, we were playing against a team that they had 7 guys, great passers of the ball, great shooters. No one was over 6'1". They just were passing and shooting. They didn't miss free throws. I'm like, well, they're great at passing and shooting and moving the ball around, but it's only 7 guys. We got 16 guys. Throw some of those sophomores out there to just trap. Run yourself ragged, trapping the ball. Make this guy dribble, over dribble, and then on the way back, pick and roll, take it to the cup. So I'm thinking that. I'm saying it to a couple of parents. They start doing it, start working. Then they do it again and starts working again. Like, if it works, just keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with. They could have.
There's no rule that says you can't. There's a limit on.
Just call it the other way.
Well, see, and that's why
like does all the time. They run the same formations. They keep it simple to the point where it frustrates fans because they think, oh, they're getting over. Like, no, they just know exactly what they're gonna do.
And that's why, like, I don't want to stay on this part too long, but that's why, like I said, I don't know if Buffalo. I don't want to do the thing where we say Buffalo needs a new voice in the locker room. I don't want to do that. I do believe the Steelers do. But I don't necessarily think that applies to Buffalo. But I do think that in Buffalo, we've reached where we can reach with you. Now, that does not mean that there's a better coach out there. That does not mean that you're going to find Lombardi, dig him up, and bring him the coach on your sideline. It just means it's something different, a different philosophy, a different culture, like somebody, because I'm sure, right, Sean McDermott doesn't look like a Sean Payton type dude that like gets over animated and emotional and all that kind of stuff. But that could also be a detriment where the team is like looking for motivation, fire us up. And that's not his personality. He's so stoic at times.
Honestly, I just think that Mahomes, we have enough on the field. Like we talked about this on the Hot Box with Residente, who's a 49ers fan. I watched that Chiefs 49ers game. They were down 10 when he threw his second interception with 8.5 minutes left in the football game in the Super Bowl, and they won by 11. So the 13 seconds seems crazy, but he threw a pick and was down by 10.
And that's the thing. Great teams,
it wasn't
great teams make great plays. But that's
by 11 points. It's just
but that's what makes a team great, right? Is that you can win without playing anywhere near your best. And that's what Kansas City has due to experience, due to being there, that a lot of teams just don't have. Buffalo can go toe-to-toe with Kansas City, but Kansas City always has one more call, one more play, one more scheme, And that sounds like coaching to me.
I just think as a like I've been told that sometimes I'm too simplistic. I just think Kansas City keeps it way more simple
Well, there's also the
than
fact.
everybody else.
There's also the fact that in these, I got to say it just because I wrote
Yeah,
it down.
yeah.
But I also have to say, and this is from Warren Sharp. I'm not trying to take credit for this, but during this 3-year run that Kansas City's on right now, in the playoffs, just the playoffs, Kansas City has been called for 1 roughing the passer. Their opponents have been called for 7. 1 unnecessary roughness. Their opponents 4. 2 pass interferences. 11 for their opponents. And the only reason I bring some of that up is that it goes back to my initial point of when you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just let you say it. What's that quote you say about skill?
Oh, you play with skill, good luck will happen.
When you play with skill, good luck will happen. So Kansas City puts themselves in positions where the referees have to make tough decisions. They have to make tough calls. Now, you got 50-50 calls like that 4th down, like the whole catch thing that is a once in a lifetime play. Like they couldn't do that again if they tried.
David Tyree helmet catch.
Right, but those are the type of things that happen because I know it's corny. I know it's cheesy, but I truly believe in destiny. And I think that right now is just not Josh Allen's destiny because Josh Allen has not played bad enough in these games to where I can say you're holding back the Bills. This is not a Tony Romo moment.
Allen played for the New Orleans Saints. He would have matched up with Patrick Mahomes at least twice in the Super Bowl in his last. So Mahomes is going to Super Bowl number 5.
Yep.
I think he would have matched up with Mahomes or Burrow 2 to 3 times based on how well he just plays football.
And guess what?
It comes down to what you have in Kansas City is they have people in the building who can look around and say, I was down 24-0 in the first half and went into halftime up 28-24 in the playoffs. It's like that kind of stuff shouldn't happen in real life.
But it
happens.
To
and
them.
You said it was the last 3-year run. That was beyond the.
That was before that, yeah.
When they won a Super Bowl in that run. So this is 7 straight AFC championship games.
Yeah,
he's a D Ford helmet away from being in 6 Super Bowls in 7 years. And even if you think about,
and they were up 21-3 on the Bengals.
They were up 18 on the Bengals, and if Chris Jones can get Burrow to the ground, they punt. But Burrow breaks out of it because Burrow's another one of those guys that, when it comes down to it, I'm gonna do this other thing to make this play. And that game, he happened to make that play when Burrow spun out of Chris Jones's hands. Chris Jones had both hands around his waist. He spun out of it, scrambled, got the first down, kept the ball going. The defense for Cincinnati then picked off Mahomes, I think, twice in 3 pass attempts or something. They go to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen, not saying he doesn't perform well, but he needs to do that every time he plays the Chiefs.
Well, yeah, I mean, and you gotta have things. You gotta have things like Stephon Diggs not drop a wide open pass. You gotta have things like your defense not letting Kansas City go 70 yards in 13 seconds.
But after Stephon Diggs drops that wide open pass, you still get an opportunity. So get him closer.
All right. Anyway, what I was going to say was what I was going to say. Yes, and what I was going to say was you also have Cincinnati, who killed one of your players in the middle of the field. You got home field advantage against them because of that game that wasn't finished that they were winning. They came into Orchard Park in the snow with a quarterback as good or better than Josh Allen, and you lost that game too. So whenever the Bills play quarterbacks that are as good as Josh Allen or a little bit better than Josh Allen, a lot of the time, besides last week against Baltimore, this is the result. And you know what? It sounds like coaching to me. So over in the NFC,
yes,
Saquon Barkley is in the end zone again. Jalen Hurts is stealing another touchdown. And before I could blink, I'm trying to figure out how is it that the rookie is the only dude on the team that got his stuff together in a championship game.
Because that's some people have it. Like, I want to shout out my friend Andre Morgan, been a friend of mine since 2001. Shout out Solution of Excuses. Got my hoodie here, and it says it's an Aristotle quote. Without a great villain, a great hero can't exist. All right, so shout out to
the Joker. Shout out to Thanos.
I mean, so we got Solution of Excuses over here. He's been a good friend of mine, and I talked to him about this one time because I was talking to my son. It's like some people have a thing to where people will follow them into whatever. Some people call it the Messiah complex. I just say it's like, listen, you have a thing, you have it, the it factor that people talk about. I know I talk about my kids a lot, but I was telling my son, he was telling me about the things that happened to him in class. He's like, the teacher's always hounding me. I was like, son, you got this thing that makes people follow you. I see it when I go to your games. I see it when I drop you off at certain functions. I see it with the diversity of your friend group. It's like people like to be around you. Parents like you. You know, some teachers don't really rock with you, but that's, par for the course. I'm like, I know another guy like that, and like that's Dre. I'm like, I'm gonna let you talk to him about how he handles it because I've seen it from the outside watching him. Jaden Daniels has that as well. The problem is, I don't think other people understand how important it is to just fall in line with that guy. Like, look at him, look at his temperament, look at his poise. He's locked in. So whatever you're worrying about, let it go. Because I think Mahomes has it. 13 seconds left. There's no way they should win that game. I think Jalen Hurts has it. He's been getting criticized for years. He's about to play in his second Super Bowl. Dan Marino only went to one.
You mean his second year?
I think Aaron Rodgers only been the one. Who else has only been the one? Like top quarterbacks.
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees only went the one. So he's about to play in his second one. And like I said, he was on his way to be MVP until Bolton. Really, even after the fumble, I think if they don't call holding and Kansas City kicks a field goal, then he has time to run the ball back.
And remember, that is an example of when Kansas City got screwed. Because remember, Bolton was supposed to have 2 touchdowns.
Yes. So he was supposed to get another one, but they said
it wasn't a complete catch or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but some of these guys have it, and I think the team just didn't understand. Like, I think maybe now they do. I liked his temperament on the sideline. He didn't cover his face. He just kind of was like sitting there, like, because when Eckler fumbled that ball, when he caught it and got up, I was like, the Commander's got something here. He's going to break a couple tackles. They're going to get this score to 34-31. At a minimum, it's going to be 34-29. I felt it was going to be a one-possession game where I didn't know if they was going to be able to stop Philly, but
obviously not.
Did you hear that? I think the air came out of the room after the turnover.
Did you hear that insane stat about the Philly rushing touchdowns?
There's like the first time of running back and a quarterback.
Not that one. Not that one. They had 7 rushing touchdowns yesterday. On the season, the Dallas Cowboys had 6.
That's chaos. Wow. The quarterback sneak is the easiest rushing touchdown from the 2, but that's neither here nor there. So, like I said, I think Eckler, if Eckler holds onto the ball there and they go on to score, they've gone for 4th down so many times. I think they have a litany of plays that get you.
They went for 2 on the first drive.
Yeah, so it's like I think Washington kicks the ball back to Philly down 3.
Well, see, I think the game was over, and I do agree with you mostly that they had opportunities to put pressure on Philly to have to keep scoring, but I think the game was over the moment Saquon Barkley touched the ball.
You're the second person I heard say that.
Because literally the first drive for Washington, 18 plays, 2 4th downs, 1 from midfield. It was a 4th and 5, a 4th and 2 from the 30. You got down to the 16 and you said, you know what? I'm going to do the Mr. Logical and I'm going to take the points here. They took the 3. So it's like, okay, look, we only got 3, but 18 plays. We pushed them up and down the field. We showed that we could be physical with them.
Like I said, I was driving trying to get the game. Did they return it to the 40s? Or did they have like a bad kickoff?
No, they just moved the ball.
No, because it was the first play to Saquon.
You talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. You talking about Saquon? I'm sorry. The other
60-yard touchdown.
Yeah. They had a big, not a big kickoff return, but it was like a nice kickoff return.
Kickoff return.
Yeah. So 60 yards. You know what I mean? So matter of fact, the first 2 times Saquon touched the ball, he scored a touchdown. So it was already 14-3 before you could even blink.
The Giants front office should be fired. I don't care. I don't care.
And from there, you're asking,
you can't tell me anything. You can't tell me anything. So sorry, I hate to distract you, but I saw another clip today of Hard Knocks. I'm just like, how does this guy have his job? But keep going, my bad.
As great as Jaden Daniels is, you're still asking a rookie quarterback to withstand this. You know what I mean? Besides the fact that I gave you the stat the other day, since 2000, rookie quarterbacks are 0-5 in championship games, and they lost those games by 15 points. Washington lost that shit by 32. But the point being is that you're asking
those guys were relying on the defense and not generating points.
No, I know. But you're asking a rookie.
Without that fumble, they get 30 points.
So
Jaden was going to make the play because the plays were there. He was going to make them. It was going to be a lot like what you get out of Lamar or Mahomes in those moments where it's like, I'm going to let my ability as a playmaker dictate how the rest of this play goes post snap.
So there was something that Adam said to me earlier that sent me through the roof. Black Adam, he sent me through the roof, where he was talking about how you have to be perfect to beat Kansas City. And I'm like, if that's true, then why the hell you shitting on Josh Allen, first of all? Second of all, you're telling a rookie quarterback in that environment, be perfect. And then, you got Austin Eckler fumbling. You got McNichols fumbling on the kickoff return. So it's literally, you're looking at this and you're going, like, back to your original point, the rookie is the only dude that understands the moment or isn't afraid of it. Because Eckler's fumble was stupid. He got up off the ground and got it punched out immediately. I ain't gonna blame it on him, but I'm just saying, like, that's just one of those things.
It was very similar to the Mark Andrews. It's like,
yeah,
I got the pass. I'm regrouping. I have space. Like, because Mark Andrews had, I think it was like 2 guys that were like in front of him. And I believe he was thinking, like, okay, I can make a move on this guy. I probably outweigh both of these guys by 50 pounds.
Right.
They're probably going to go low. And he's looking for all that other stuff. And he's just not seeing the guy come in and punching out. I think the same thing with Eckler. He's like, I'm getting up. He's starting to run again. So it's like, I'm getting up, and now I'm starting my runs. Because as soon as he cocked his arm to run, that's when they got punched.
Yeah. And side note, it's amazing how close Josh Allen was to getting that ball to Dalton Andrews. It was like crazy how close that was. And I know I said that. I know what I said. I know what I said. Anyway,
I didn't know where that was going.
I know, but in real time, I didn't see that he got his hands or like that it hit him. Like, he didn't get his hands on it, but it hit him. Yeah, I didn't see that. I didn't see it until the replay, and I was like, holy shit. If he would have completed that pass, we'd be talking about that in 15 years had they won that game.
Now, we'd be talking about how Mahomes came back again and crushed.
We probably would. But Philly,
mathematically, it's a safe bet that he was going to come back and win the game.
This is the best stat.
That's all I'm saying. It's never not happened.
But this is the best stat of the playoffs for me. In their 3 playoff games, Philadelphia has forced 9 fumbles.
It should have been 2.
So that's why I say that I'm not going to blame Austin Eckler, because this is just what Philly was doing. You know what I mean? All playoff long. They were the best team in the league all year. I told all the Eagle fans that. Hopefully they heard me, but I was trying to be fair about it because they are. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, so it is what it is. But there were some things in that game.
You should never single block Jalen Carter.
That too. And I'm gonna
you should lock him in his hotel room in New Orleans.
And I'm still trying to figure out.
They should be focused on him.
And I'm still trying to figure out why Dan Quinn didn't throw the challenge flag on that Devontae Smith catch. I don't know. I mean, even if it wasn't out of bounds, you got to throw that flag there because it was close enough, and I think he was actually out of bounds. But anyway, how about my guy Frankie Louvu? He was obviously a Troy Polamalu fan, right?
Oh, yo, I was watching the game, and I was like, these kind of antics are. I haven't made my pick for the Super Bowl, but those kind of antics are going to cost Philly because it's like he was toying with them. He was going on to. It's like you got Saquon Barkley, who's basically jogged into the end zone 2 times. Jalen Hurts jogged into the end zone 1 time, and then he got pushed before. It's like you're about to go up 25.
Just get the touchdown.
Just get the touchdown because Jalen dropped the first one and like bobbled it. So once he did that, it should be like, all right, we get
Stop
it. Coach.
Playing around, just get in
Stop
there.
playing around. Like these are grown men out here with pride. You know, the nation on their back as a nation's capital. Probably a lot more people rooting for them than Philly because people have this stigma with Philly fans. They're just passionate. Yes, it borders on obnoxious, but that's just the behavior of people. As it's not indicative of the team. But when the coach does stuff like that, I was like, yo, this is how this goes all the way back to 2 years ago when he was waving across the sideline and Jalen Hurts had to pull his arm down. This is the kind of stuff that's going to hurt Sirianni because it's like, and the referees blaming the Commanders. It's like, yo, dog, there are only 2 ways to stop this, or 3. 1 is the hope that they fumble it. 2 is to get pressure underneath to where he can't get up. Or 3, get pressure underneath and simultaneously have a guy who is flying with momentum over the top of the pile to pull the guy back. That way the guy at the bottom, momentum can push him back. That's the only way I could do it. It's like,
well, my takeaway from it,
2 and 3 and hut. It's like, what am
well, my takeaway from it was, and I don't want to sound like the old man in the room, but my takeaway from it was like that it took for that moment to happen for me to realize like how dangerous this play really is. You know what I mean? And how easy it would be to get injured on this play. And if that was full action when the first one where he like jumped into Hurts, you know what I mean? Like you I don't know. You tear somebody up. But anyway, moving on though.
I just don't I wouldn't want that much weight like on top of
my that too.
And my quarterback. You know, it just like I said, the NFL field is like 52.5 yards, 53 yards wide. You can go 4 wide with a running back. You have a quarterback that, like I said, he squats pound for pound. He's probably like the best. I think he has like the Texas State record for quarterbacks who can squat like 600 pounds when he was in high school. Saquon, the same thing. They say both of them say they don't do that anymore, but they still have that kind of strength. It was like, I can get this ball in from a yard. I have an entire all-pro offensive line and 2 tight. It's like, why?
Which is exactly why Saquon should be the MVP, but won't be the MVP. But you know, Mr. Logical, we got a rematch, and you could say what you want, but all I heard was you picking Kansas City. So as I was,
you got to see who's back, who's out. I saw McCole Hartman was wearing like a hoodie. Maybe he's
they said he's out. They said he's out for the season. That came out before the Buffalo game, but yeah. So I was thinking about this, and you know, there's always a number that stands out. Mm-hmm. So this will be the 5th time. The 5th time 2 head coaches will meet in the Super Bowl in a rematch. The coach that won the first matchup is 4-0 in those matchups. I was thinking about this because the first Super Bowl, I can only hope that this Super Bowl is as great as that Super Bowl was. That was a really good game. The Philly Kansas City rematch game from 2 years ago. Okay. That was a great Super Bowl. The field was a little crazy. I know CJ was talking about that.
Yeah, the field was nuts.
Yeah, and for one team. But we talked about it earlier. Nick Bolton with the touchdown should have been 2. You know, Kadarius Toney with the punt return. Eric Bieniemy seeing what Philly was doing, and Skylar Moore and Kadarius Toney get a touchdown that way. It was just a lot going on in that game, and I can only hope that this game will have some of those same qualities.
Yeah, Philly's defense, I don't think will get caught in that trap again. They were going zero coverage for some reason at the goal line. I guess maybe because you want to maybe keep a spy on Mahomes, or you want to like shoot the gap with your linebackers. But Kansas City did a very similar thing to get McCole Hardman open in the Super Bowl this
last
past year
year.
against San
Yeah.
Francisco. Basically, you motion him in to where now the defense they're doing like eye coordinating handoffs. Like, okay, dog, he's here now. You got him. I got him. And then he went back out, and that communication never made it back. Like, oh no, you got him now. And then he came back out. The same thing happened with that Sky Moore. I don't think Sky Moore's seen the end zone since then, and I don't think Kadarius Toney
I think he's been
probably
hurt.
hasn't either. But those are great play calls. It just seems like Andy Reid, because I'm big on. Granted, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of sport. I'm a fan of the Falcons. I'm a fan of whatever team I'm rooting for. I'm a fan of the game. And I sometimes like to sit on my couch and think to myself, it's like, if I'm seeing this, are the coaches seeing it? And it seems like Andy Reid sees it in real time. And we talk about the San Francisco Kansas City game where Tyreek Hill caught that long bomb on 3rd and 15. And the clip is Mahomes walking over to Reed and Bieniemy like, "Yo, can we do wasp? Like whatever that play
Right.
is."
Right.
And Tyreek Hill is wide open. And I think even Skip Bayless was trying to make it seem like, "Oh, that wasn't a great play. He was wide open." It's like, well, the way he gets wide open is because the fucking play call was great. Like,
Right.
and then Mahomes dropped back 18 yards to throw it 40 yards down the field. Like he throws up this Hail Mary. It's like, yeah,
That was by design.
play. That was by design. I need to he's like, get time and I can get open. Cool. And he was like, it's San Francisco's fault. But like that's what the haters say. Like I said, somebody quoted in this sports group I'm in, Talk Your Shit sports group. Somebody posted something about how Mahomes is, his achievements is like, oh, that shows you how weak the AFC is. Like that's dumb for 7 years. But what you're gonna get with Philly and Kansas City, I like the matchup because what is like the immovable force and the unstoppable object.
And the irresistible object or whatever it is. Yeah. The immovable force and the irresistible object.
Yeah. So like, and it works both ways. So defensively, Kansas City stout. They pretty much stopped the run game. Josh Allen they got 2 touchdowns on 4th downs inside the. So Kansas City's defense was stout, except that no one's expecting Samuel to catch a pass, and he caught a couple like all year long. But
I bet you Spags got something for the tush push.
Not let him get the 3rd and 2. I don't know what to do.
Well, that too. I mean, that's half the battle, right?
So look, I think the defense of Kansas City matched up with the offense of Philly. I think that's a real head-to-head. I think that's a coin toss. That's 51-49 either way. I think the same way about the Kansas City offense versus the Philly defense.
Yeah, they got a Quinyon Mitchell now.
So it's like, are we gonna get some kind of unsung hero? Are we gonna
see if Jalen Carter try to punch somebody again?
Are we gonna get one of these tight ends that just happen to because the tight end caught it was it 84? What's his name?
Not Goddard. Oh, you talking about Watson?
Okay, yeah. So are we gonna get a game where it's like an unsung hero that makes a play? Because like I said, it's 51-49 either way, however you want to flip the coin. Because I don't think it's 50-50 because someone's got to win. So someone's going to have to make the play. And I think each team has the extra guy that can make the play.
Right.
I think Gainwell can make the play that if you have to take Saquon out. I think that the play action RPO getting to him in the flat, I think his speed on the edge, a missed tackle.
And don't forget, you got Jahan Dotson underneath too.
Jahan Dotson, he's the guy because like you're going to focus on Goddard, you're going to focus on A.J. Brown, you're going to focus on Devontae Smith. Okay. Does one of these guys catch a pass underneath and they change the game? 3rd and 7. This guy's wide open because they've been passing off everything else and Hurts just sees it. So I think it's gonna be one of those games where like an unsung hero steps up and makes the play of the quarter, the half, or just makes a bigger play than you were expecting.
Well, you know what I do know? That player won't be Hollywood Brown. So You know what I'm saying? Superman, Black Superman, Mr. Logical says.
Absolutely.
You know, apparently Cam Newton could be the next Dwayne Johnson.
Oh man. Shout out to Cam Newton. We talk about it factor. Cam has it. He just where you put him anywhere. You can put him anywhere. You can put him as a 7-on-7 coach. You can put him as a host of a game show if you want it. You can put him on First Take. You put him on his own podcast. You put him at a podium. And people used to talk about he looked like a Batman villain with some of those hats with the feathers. But the show they're doing, this Special Forces show, Cam Newton, he did like this bungee jump. He came out and he gave Golden Tate like a tap. And I guess he just didn't see the handshake coming and knocked his wind out. And the guy was like, "What'd you do?" He was like, just, trying to give him a handshake. He's like, "We don't do the showboating around here." And like Cam kind of gave him like this look like, "All right, man." Like something like that. So I go to the comments and like multiple people saying like, "Yo, did we just find the next great movie villain?" And as I think about it, Cam, it's just perfect. If you think about your friend group, people you know in your family, people you text with on a regular basis, how many of them are 6'6", 250? Probably not many. Like, so just that the sheer size of them, the personality, the big hair, I think I think he'd be a great villain. Maybe one of those untouchable movies with like Sylvester Stallone. You could be like the next, what's the boy name? Like, Jim Brown was a great actor at this football career. Obviously The Rock was a great actor. Ed Too Tall, um, Bubba,
Jones.
Bubba Jones, who was played with the Colts, ended up doing the Police Academy movies. I just think we talk about those guys when they on Dance with the Stars. A lot of football players win that show.
Yeah, Emmitt Smith was good on there.
I think Mike Irvin was good on, like Jerry Rice was good on it. So that the work ethic that comes in with being an elite football player and an MVP, and within a couple of possessions of winning a Super Bowl, I think that translates over so well. And I would just love to see Cam just kind of do his thing in some kind of movie.
I think Cam Newton could be what white people think John Cena is. And at least Cam's funny, Cena's not, so that works too.
Yeah, I could see Cam.
Well, hey, there you go. Throw him in a Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious 14. Yeah,
yeah.
Driving like a Carolina Blue SUV with rockets or something on it. I could see that. Like
hey, you know what? Why you playing? Cam Newton maybe could save DC Comics.
He could be a superhero, without a doubt. Without a doubt, because all you got to do is make a suit that fits him.
Good luck with that.
You don't need you don't need the fake abs. Just like, let's get a rubber suit. Let's put him in this, and then that's it. Like whatever. I don't know if you want to make a new Blade with him or put him in Blade, but yeah, I think Cam Newton is your next great athlete to movie star.
Definitely for the culture, I need Cam Newton against Spider-Man.
Come on now, shut it down. And you throw Jamie Foxx there to help him with the acting.
You know where they missed it. You know where they missed it. Vince Carter could have been a superhero. He could jump high enough.
I don't know if he has a personality. I think you have to be able to get people to want to like talk to you. I think Cam Newton walked down on stage in Comic-Con. I think he doesn't walk.
I don't know. Scottie Pippen might be the biggest villain in sports these days.
Cam Newton repels from the ceiling onto the stage with smoke and fire, and it fits. You couldn't put Scottie Pippen up there to have him drop down. It's like, why Scottie Pippen got smoke? Like, what you see the picture of 50 Cent with the at his show, and he was up on a harness, and somebody said 50 Cent doesn't have a single song that requires him to be on a harness. It's like that. Like, that doesn't make any sense. But Cam Newton coming out, dropping down from the ceiling, explosion, smoke, soldiers come around. He takes the helmet off, and he's
real talk. If Cam Newton ever cuts his hair, and I'm not saying he needs to, but if he ever cuts his hair, he could be Black Bond, bro.
They tried that with Idris Elba, and white people in England lost their mind. Like,
they lost their mind about the damn stormtroopers. I'm like, they got a mask on.
They lost their mind over Idris Elba, but like,
don't even get me started on the Little Mermaid.
oh man, that movie was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Melissa McCarthy was dope in it. Yeah, but Cam Newton, like I said, I'm just imagining Comic Con right now. I don't know what characters are out. I know Cyborg in DC is a black character.
Yeah, but I think they already got somebody for that.
I know Green Lanterns are just a bunch of different.
Yeah, there is a black Green Lantern. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but they're just a bunch of different, like just green. They're like a planet of people, so
right?
Whatever.
Right.
So if you're gonna make another one, you got them there, or you just take a villain. I'm pretty sure has to be like
they could have used Cam Newton as Kang to replace Jonathan Majors. That's probably too big of a stage.
He was acting his ass off in the show, but I think yeah. Let's shout out to Cam Newton. Let's get Cam on the show. We'll talk about it. I'll get in contact with your agent. But yeah, we are
not calling Julius Randle's agent.
Yeah, we get Cam in movies. I think it'd be perfect. I don't know. I just, like I said, watching him jump from the boat to the helicopter, I was like, this dude just did a muscle up on a helicopter to get into it. And it's like, he's not even playing sports anymore.
Right.
So just, yeah.
And one time, big hand for Millville, New Jersey.
Shout out to Millville, New Jersey.
You know what I'm saying? Isaiah Pacheco, congratulations on another Super Bowl appearance.
All he knows is going to the Super Bowl.
That's all he knows, man.
That's all he knows.
All he does is win. All he does is win.
I wear standing. I go to the Super Bowl. So shout out to Pacheco, Millville, New Jersey.
Yes.
Like I said, just out there for the pop up. Very successful pop up. Once again, solution over excuses. We got to use these platforms to share everybody. We talk about the One Mic podcast.
Yes, sir. Mondays and Thursdays.
Talk about the Hot Box. A lot of these guys who support the show. Once again,
shout out to
everyone who bought cookies for my daughter's Girl Scouts. Total was like, I don't know if I mentioned last week, but she was up to 283. Her goal was 100. She sold 283 boxes. I think she sold about 203 days per like different contacts in the sports groups and everything else where I posted. So shout out to everybody participating. But yeah, man, it's been a good year for sports already.
Yes, sir. Now we just got to figure out what we're going to talk about on Friday.
We'll see what the channel does this week.
Maybe we'll talk about Jimmy Butler getting suspended yet again.
Yo, it's like I wanna advocate for him, but it's like, man, at some point you gotta stop being a jackass. You just gotta bite the bullet.
Like you already know they're going to trade you. Like you don't have to act like this.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards, stop having babies, dog. Stop. Wrap it up and pull out. Do something. Stop. These checks end.
That's hard, man. I ain't pulled out since like 1997.
Boy, you got a bunch of goddamn kids.
All right, we're getting out of here on that note.
You got a kid catching the bus to first grade in the morning. You and Anthony Edwards need to calm down. Let me stop my daughter.
You know what I'm saying? But he is Mr. Logical. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And I am 2-5. Run them numbers. We will be back on Friday around the association and more. We love you. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Peace.